Hello there YouTube, Devin here again, and today I have another Canteen and Canteen cover for you. Now this is actually a awesome Canteen because it has a lot of cool stuff that I like. Now this is for one a glass canteen. Now I like glass canteens over regular metal canteens because they are usually a lot harder to find because they tended to break. And other things like that is they were also usually made out of desperation or something like that, so they usually weren't made very long. But I like glass canteens because they're very easy to maintain because glass doesn't really like break down or do anything as long as you clean it regularly. Unlike metal, which will oxidize and stuff and rust away, glass can last a very long time. But what we have here for you is a Portuguese border guards canteen. Now these were used for quite a while, actually, kind of turn of the century. This specific one here is made in 1908, and it is the over-the-shoulder slung model, as you could tell by the big long strap. Now when I got this cover, there was actually a tremendous amount wrong with it. It wasn't stored very well at all, but it had a lot of work that needed to be done on it, especially the leather. The leather was so dry and brittle and cracked that it was almost beyond saving. But what I did was I got out some of my various huge amounts of leather hydrating stuff, and I'll get some of that on screen here for you so that maybe you guys can, if you like some of it, you can use some of this stuff too, because I highly recommend all of it, but not all of it is going to be perfect for every leather. So, but I rehydrated this leather actually 4 times, and it could probably still use more. And what that means is I covered it inside and out in a liberal layer of, what I actually covered it in was mink oil. Now, mink oil is conditions, says right on there, conditions in waterproof smooth leather, and I just love Kiwi. I love Kiwi brand shoe polish and everything. It's pretty much the only brand of shoe polish I have, except for Mod Brown, because Kiwi doesn't make Mod Brown, so I use Leader Grist for Mod Brown. But I like Kiwi a lot better because it tends to be a harder type of shoe polish, and it melts really easy and reforms quite nice and takes a very good shine. Kiwi is a very good company for shoe polish, but this is not suitable for suede. You don't use mink oil on suede because it will oversaturate the suede. But I used some mink oil on it because I knew mink oil would absorb very easy, but without leaving a greasy texture on the leather, because what I needed to do was hydrate the leather, not try to keep moisture in it. So I thought the mink oil was a good option to use there. Another thing that I really use is actually a proprietary thing. It's the Limor waterproofing and leather conditioner. I actually have a couple tins of this. I get it from Peter S. Limor there. You can get this from limorboots.com. Very good stuff. Highly recommend this stuff. This is kind of an all-around use. You can use it on some smaller suede, so kind of like nubuck. This is good on nubuck and smooth leather, but I would say it's not very good for suede. So now kind of getting up to the heavier stuff. This is Oberknopf's. Oberknopf's is an awesome leather preservative. This you could use on pretty much anything. It's made of natural ingredients. It's made in Idaho, as you can see there. It smells really good. It smells just like honey, actually, which is a main ingredient in it. But this one, to apply it, you want to heat it up first because it's actually pretty much solid. So I have a heat gun that I heat up. You can see some drippings there. This is pretty much solid, so you want to heat that up before you use it. And make sure once you apply it to the item, all this stuff, you want to keep using the heat gun on it till it absorbs, and you want to keep going till the leather stops taking it. It's going to take some practice to do that. You're probably going to over apply and under apply quite a few times before you actually get perfect. I've done this so many times now that I can pretty much tell how many coats of what is going to have to go on the leather before it's absorbed. But the last thing I have here is Snow Seal, and now Snow Seal is something I don't really use to condition leather. But what I do is this is a very greasy, waxy substance. So every winter I will go over the seams of my boots with this and everything like that. So this is something I use on seams because it doesn't dry up very fast. So it'll stay on there pretty much all season with one coat, or at least for most of the season. I've had some where it rubs off, but that's, you got to really kind of try and. But it keeps the salt out of the seams, and then you can wipe it off later in the spring when you get out the saddle soap and you rinse everything down and stuff like that. But saddle soap, I don't actually have that within arm's reach, but that's another good thing to use. But you really want to use that on new leather. You really don't want to use that on old leather like this, because saddle soap's kind of a little bit harsh, but it will condition leather quite well. Saddle soap will. It will also re-brighten leather. It takes a lot of dirt and chemicals and stuff like that out of leather as well, so saddle soap is a good choice. So without that, though, we'll get into the canteen. Now, the canteen cover, like I said, I got it, and it wasn't stored very well. It was very dry, very cracked, but for being, you know, almost 100 years old, well, over 100 years old, almost 110 years old, it's actually doing quite well, I think, and I did a pretty good job restoring it, if I do say so myself. But so it's got all brass hardware on it. So if we pull this tab here, so before I was really sure I was going to break these these thin leather strips when I was pulling them, because you can see how cracked they are along there. But I ended up saving them, and now I'm not too worried about them breaking. But it's still a concern, because this probably will dry out quite fast. Again, but I did what I could to hydrate the leather and then to try to keep some of that hydration in there. This isn't a canteen I plan on using because of the condition in it. Unless I get a second one that's in better condition, then I might use this one. Might test it out. I mean, not like use it all the time, but I might test it to see how nice it is. So how the canteen works is there's this kind of half cover, as you see here. Now, see on the inside, that looks pretty gross. Well, it was lined with this kind of like wool felt that was totally eaten away. It had tons of dead bugs matted in it and everything like that, so I just scraped that out. I still have to put new, I just got some big, heavy, like 24-ounce wool. I got brown 24-ounce wool, and I'm just going to cut some circles out of it, and I'm going to put them in here. So that's just to protect the canteen, basically. If you were to drop this, the wool's gonna, for one, help insulate the canteen, and two, help keep it from breaking. So I just got two circles of wool I'm gonna cut out and put in this canteen to kind of sandwich the canteen and sandwich between the canteen and the cover to offer some more protection and insulation like the original had. But you can see it on this side too, where I had to cut it out because it was barely holding on. It was full of bugs and it was all gross, and in order to rehydrate the leather I would have to pull it out anyways, but it was held in place with some glue or something like that. So but I went through and I rehydrated all the leather because this is very brittle. This wouldn't flex at all without breaking before I rehydrated it. You can see the covers there for the brass little snaps on the top. There's those. Completely brass hardware. As you can see, it's all sewn together. It's a very, very awesome canteen. These were used by the Portuguese border guards for a long time. I think up to just after World War I, I think, before they started getting phased out. I don't know when they entered service. But this one here is 1908, as I said at the beginning. And how I know that is because it's on the strap right here. So if I can get the camera to show up, there you go. You can see that there. It's like DMAGE, I think, or F, or CF or something, and then below it says 1908 right there. So, but the strap is probably gonna need to be replaced. You can see that's kind of falling apart, but I hydrated that as well. It's only the one side of the strap. The other side is actually quite nice still, as you can see. But the side where the buckle is, the brass buckle, is a little bit beat up. And I didn't want to use the first hole there because it's kind of cracked. So I got it in the second hole now. But so that's how the canteen holds together. You would put it in there and you would slide these through these little bales here, and you would hook it over those straps, and that would keep your canteen, and you would sling it over your shoulder and use it. So after I hydrated everything, I also re-blacked it. I got some black shoe polish out and went over it with a couple light coats, which is why it's so shiny. But I did that to kind of seal in the moisture, and eventually I will strip all of that off again and rehydrate the leather some more. just to make sure it stays in good shape. But right now that's just acting as a sealant because it's what I had on hand. And the color could have really used to touched up. It was a little bit faded and everything in certain parts, so the black actually really helped bring the color back to what it originally was. But now we'll look at the canteen itself. Now this is just a kind of glass canteen, and you can see a big ass air bubble in it because these were back when canteens were hand blown and stuff like that. You can also see a big globe of glass there at the bottom where it's way thicker, right by the bubble there. That's just inconsistencies that come with being handmade. It's got a cork at the top. I believe the cork was replaced at some point because this probably would have had a top bark cork, not a chunk cork like this originally, I'm guessing, for when it was made. Because that would have been a lot cheaper considering Portugal actually is like the world's #1 supplier of cork. But you can see little impurities in the glass there. There's a black speck sandwiched in the glass. You can see how the top is kind of rough from where they probably broke it off of the actual blowing rod. It's a little bit inconsistent. It's not perfectly round. It's a little bit thicker on one side. This canteen has been washed. So the inside is actually very, very clean, but as you can see, there's still some dirt there on the outside of the canteen that I'm still working on getting off. I was really more concerned about saving the cover before I actually tried to clean the canteen, because I know that this is fine. This is going to be easy to clean, but if this would be pretty much useless if the cover was damaged. So I wanted to really rehydrate and make sure the cover was okay before I focus too much on the canteen itself. So this could just really use a good rinsing out with some soap and water. It's not going to hurt it at all. I don't really like to put glass this old in the dishwasher, but I'm sure you could if you wanted to, as long as your dishwasher doesn't get too hot and the soap you're using isn't too bad on it. But I normally like to hand wash these because that's how it would have done back in the day. So this is a very, very awesome canteen. I'm very, very glad to have these. As you guys know, I love canteens. It's my second most popular playlist now is canteens, actually. People really like the canteen playlist. I really love glass canteens, especially. I have a lot of glass canteens. And I really, really like Portugal. I don't know why more people don't like Portugal or collecting Portuguese military stuff, because Portugal is such a good mashup between Spain and France and England and tons of places. It's so... Their military history is so great. That's what attracted me to the Portuguese military and the Portuguese Empire and stuff like that, is because they're so underdone, but they were actually so prevalent, more prevalent than everyone thinks in today's day and age. So, but hopefully you guys like this video and you subscribe if you like this sort of thing. I know you guys will like the canteen videos, this new one here. I'm making this video because I actually got a little bit of time off work before I go wine shopping with a friend. So hopefully you guys like this. If you want to see some more stuff, or if I missed anything on this canteen, or if you have any questions on it, feel free to leave me a comment and I will do my best to answer it as soon as I can. But if it takes a little while, I'm a pretty busy person here in fourth quarter. So just bear that in mind. It might take a couple hours or a few days to reply even. But I'll do my best to answer them as frequently as I can. So thank you so much for watching in the meantime. Leave your comments, questions, and suggestions for future videos in the comments below, and I will, like I said, get to them as soon as I can. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.